Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Free and Fearless Entrepreneur Podcast. I am excited to be here with you guys today to talk about my alcohol-free journey, to talk about this journey that I have been sharing. If you're not on TikTok, you need to get on TikTok. I have been sharing this journey every single day since I decided to do a little sober curious challenge. And today marks day 61 of this journey. I did a TikTok yesterday talking about the 5 lessons that I have learned over the past 60 days. And honestly, there's probably a lot more than 5 lessons that I learned. However, I wanted to break it down in a podcast and kind of expand on the lessons that I learned and talk about the most frequently asked questions that I get, especially on TikTok, because I am on there every single day, just sharing a daily update. And share with you, maybe it'll give you some hope, maybe it'll give you some inspiration, maybe you can take something from this. I'm not one to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I think that everybody in the world should be doing this. But I am one that believes that vulnerability is a superpower, and it is something that we can use to change the world. And so here I am sharing my journey, being open and real and honest with you about everything that has gone down over the past 60 days. And the thing is like, I'm sharing this as I go, which is normally not something I do. If you've been following me for a long time, you know, back in 2014, 15, 16, I was addicted to Adderall. And it took me a good year before I shared that, after I had been off Adderall for a year, to share that. And I'm sharing as I go. And sometimes that makes me really nervous. But at the same time, I think that the authenticity and the vulnerability is needed in a space. And I will be here to share with you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to share with you guys some of the frequently asked questions that I get on TikTok about this sober curious journey. First and foremost, I want to say it was about November 15th, I think, was the day that I committed to doing 365 days of no alcohol. And one of the questions that I get the most is, why did I quit drinking? Number one, the reason why I quit drinking is because I wanted to see what my life would be like without it. Alcohol has been a huge part of my life. It's been a huge part of everybody that I am surrounded with. Alcohol is a big thing. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has a problem with alcohol. And in fact, I had dramatically changed my relationship with alcohol by the time that I decided to quit drinking. So, back a couple years ago, I was definitely a daily drinker. Going into 2020, I really looked at that relationship and I started to change it, and I started to go longer periods of time without alcohol. And by the time I came to my decision to quit drinking, the plan was, I will tell you guys this, that the plan was to do sober 2021. And I was going to go through the holidays, have all the drinks, do all the things. And I kept asking myself, like, Ashley, what the fuck are you waiting for? I personally had watched a couple, I follow a couple ladies on social media that are alcohol free. They didn't have a problem with alcohol, but they decided that it just didn't belong in their lives. And I've always been like, I wonder what that would be like. And so I went on a girls' trip in November. We went to the casino. We had drinks. It wasn't even like I drank a ton and was like super hungover or anything. But I remember waking up on Sunday morning and thinking, this isn't fun anymore. This literally isn't fun anymore. Why am I doing this and why am I waiting? And that was the day that I committed to doing at least 365 days of no alcohol. So it really wasn't anything big. It literally was just like, this isn't fun anymore. And I want to see what life is like without alcohol. And I know that this triggers a lot of people, especially on TikTok. But the simple decision is I just don't want to drink anymore because I wanted to quit. That's why. And you don't need a bigger reason than that. This is why I'm sharing this. You don't have to hit rock bottom. You don't have to have a problem. You can just decide to literally remove it from your life and see what your life is like without it. And I've noticed so many changes, which we're going to talk about. So the second question that I always get is, will I quit drinking forever? And the answer to that is simply, I don't know. And this is what makes me super nervous about sharing this journey, is I don't want to lead anyone down a path of like, if I decided to drink tomorrow, and somebody say, well, you misled me. No, I am very open and honest about this. Right now I'm committed to 365 days. Will I go past that? I don't know. And that is the honest truth, is I don't know. So I just want to put that out there, because I as a disclaimer, and I literally, yes, take this one day at a time, with the commitment of 365 days. After that, we will see. I probably will end up going all of 2021 without alcohol. But I'm not going to sit here in a future trip about that, because actually that was something that happened, or that does happen, I guess, through these 60 days. At the beginning, I found myself thinking about, oh my God, this has to be a forever thing. I can't share this journey. And I had all of this like going on in my head, and I had to stop and I had to focus on one single day at a time. I had to stop and I had to focus on what I was doing in this moment and what I had actually committed to. I do have moments where I start to fantasize about drinking, the good things, right? We never fantasize about the bad things. And then I have to remind myself of the way I would feel, the things that would happen, just different things. And so for me, I'm not going to out loud say, yes, I'm going to quit drinking forever, because I don't want to give any false promises. And I don't feel the need that I need to make that promise to anybody. And I don't even feel the need I need to make it to myself. If you follow me for a long time, you know that I'm all about breaking rules. And so when I feel like rules have been put on myself, I will tend to try to break those. And so for me, this is what we're doing. We're going one day at a time for 365 days. We'll see what happens going forward. The next question I get, because in my TikTok videos, I always say, and I always start off with, like today's video was, today it is day 61 of 365 days, no alcohol for me, somebody that wasn't an alcoholic but decided to stop drinking anyways. And one of the questions that I always get is, what is your definition of an alcoholic? And if you Google alcoholic, or even if you look in a book, or you look in, the big book and all of these different things, you're gonna find a different definition from everybody. You're gonna find a list of things. If you check these off, then you're an alcoholic. The way that I look at it and the way that I define it for myself. So if you define it for yourself a different way, that is 100% completely okay. This isn't even on my list of 5 things that I've learned, but one of the biggest things that I've learned is every single person's journey is different, and you cannot compare one person's journey to another. You cannot compare one person's recovery to another. And for me personally, identities are very important. Words are very important. The things that you say to yourself are really, really important. And so I don't identify as an alcoholic. And when I look at that, this is how I came down to this conclusion for myself, because this is the thing that triggers the people the most, is when I say that I wasn't an alcoholic, but my life has gotten better from not drinking. Let me take a deep breath. It's okay. So let me explain. So for me, I personally was addicted to stimulants and Adderall, phentermine for about 8 years. I was really hardcore on Adderall for 3 years, and I was completely addicted. My life revolved around that pill. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about anybody else. Nothing. Like, all I thought about was my next high. All I lived my life for is, how am I going to get this next high? How am I going to get this pill? I wasn't paying attention to the things that were important to me. I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do. It was ruining my health. It was basically killing me. And I didn't care. I just wanted more of it. And I could not function without that. To me, that is an addict. That is somebody that is addicted to that. With alcohol, that was not the case. I could go 3 weeks. I could go a couple days. By the end, the time that I decided I would quit drinking, I was only drinking on the weekends. However, once I started drinking, I wasn't stopping. And some people might say, well, that classifies you as an alcoholic. And people can believe and think whatever they want. However, for myself, I do not classify myself or identify with being an alcoholic. I do think, and I do believe, and this might trigger people, but anybody that consumes alcohol is slightly addicted in some sort of way. And if you haven't read the book, The Naked Mind, I highly, highly suggest reading the book, The Naked Mind. But for me, I don't identify as an alcoholic. And if that triggers you, I'm sorry about that. And if you resonate with my story, because I am trying to reach the people with this journey that are like me, because I had people inspire me. And I remember the reason why I committed to sharing my journey with Adderall and with my addiction with that was because I was the one on the internet searching for hope. And so whenever I never came across that hope that I wanted. So when I decided to, come clean with Adderall, I knew that I would be the person to spread the hope. And so now if I ever go through a journey, like, I am an open book and I am sharing it because there is power in vulnerability. And I believe that we can connect with more people in that way. Okay. So those were the top, 3 questions that I mostly get asked about my journey. Now I want to go in and I want to talk about the top 5 lessons that I have learned over the past 60 days. I will continue to give updates on this. And if you guys have questions for me, definitely let me know, because I will put them in the upcoming podcast episode. So number 1 is, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And before I have people come at me for saying this, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, is that everybody's journey is different. So I get it. I'm not making light of how hard it may be for you to quit drinking than it was for me. I will say this though, if I would have chose to do this a few years ago, let's say 3 years ago, this would have been so hard for me. However, I have spent the past 3 years healing my relationship with myself, working on that relationship with myself, being able to have the respect that I need for myself, and to be able to communicate with myself, be on my side, follow through with the things that I said I was going to do. So it wasn't like I just woke up on November 15th and said, I want to quit, and it was super easy. That's not the case, right? I mean, it was easy then. However, you're not seeing the 3 years of inner work that I did in order to get to the point where I am now, where it was easy for me to just say, nope, I don't want to do this. And I didn't drink on Thanksgiving, and I didn't drink on Christmas, and I didn't drink on New Year's, and I didn't drink when everybody else was drinking around me. The reason it was easier for me this time, because there's been many times where I've tried to go and stop drinking for a certain amount of time, is because of that inner work that I did. So the first thing I learned, that it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Number 2, the second thing that I learned was feeling your feelings is hard, but it's completely 100% worth it. So when you become sober, when you take alcohol out of your life, another question that I get a lot asked is like, how much was I drinking beforehand, right? And at the point that I quit drinking, I was definitely drinking on the weekends, but it was probably more than some people, probably less than other people. I don't know. If I would open a bottle of wine, the bottle of wine would be gone. I would definitely be out of alcohol by the end of the weekend. Like, it was one of those things, once I started, I had a hard time stopping, and I'll just be honest about that. So when you become sober and you have to sit in your feelings, and you can't just be like, I'm going to open this bottle of wine to numb out, because that's what happened a lot at the beginning of 2020, if I'm honest. You have to feel those feelings. And everybody has always told me that I am not an emotional person, and I'm not an emotional person. However, I've been pretty emotional over the past 60 days. And when I say emotional, I mean, I have been happier than I've ever been. I have been sadder than I've ever been. And I have to sit in those emotions, and I have to feel them. But what happened before was I would basically be pushing those emotions down, pushing them down, pushing them down, pushing them down. And then it would explode, right? Then it would explode. Then there was this massive thing. What I find now is I have to feel those emotions now, and I can't numb them out, and I have to sit in them, and I have to allow myself to reflect, and I have to allow myself to grow through them. And when I do that, by the next day, it's like, okay, we can move on now. I'm saving so much more time feeling my feelings than I was numbing them out or pushing them down and having an explosion. So it is important to feel your feelings, and it is important for you to, we are human beings. We're not meant to be positive all the time. We're not meant to be happy all the time. We live in a society where there is toxic positivity, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to have all of these things. The third lesson that I learned is that I have way more time in my day. And this is because of many reasons, right? I have more time because on Saturday and Sunday, I'm not hungover. A majority of my time on Sundays was spent in bed because I was hungover. So now I go to the gym on Saturdays or even Sundays, or go on a hike or go to the grocery store. I remember always being stressed out about the grocery store because I never wanted to go on the weekend. But the reason I didn't want to go on the weekend is because I would be hungover and I didn't want to go anywhere. And so it would just be this ongoing stress ball of, okay, well, I either need to go Monday or Tuesday. And I know these things sound simple, but however, what I'm finding is that I have more time. I have more clarity. I've done more things in my business. I have spent less time being quote unquote sick. I talked about this in my TikTok today, is that I would spend at least one day in bed a week. And that would be from my immune system not being good because I was drinking poison. Alcohol is poison. If you haven't read, again, The Naked Mind, I highly suggest reading that, or the books, Sober Curious is a really good book also. And so my immune system wasn't good. I would get sick really easily. I would be tired all of the time. My sleep fucking sucked, excuse my language. Don't even excuse my language because this is me and this is how I talk. About 3 weeks into the Sober Curious journey, my sleep was amazing. I ended up getting this Whoop strap that tracks your sleep and stuff. And I honestly really wish I would have got it before I quit drinking because my sleep is so good now. I get like amazing sleep, the best sleep that I've ever had in my life. I don't need to take anything to go to sleep. And it's a deep sleep. I get my REM sleep. I get all the things and I feel very rejuvenated in the morning. And that is something that I live for. Let me tell you, you don't know how good things are until things get better, right? And when that sleep got better, it was amazing. So I have way more time in my day to do the things that I want to be doing. Number 4 is new experiences can be fun. So a lesson that I've learned is that I have to, instead of focusing, and like I talked about at the beginning, instead of focusing and future tripping on the things that I'm missing out on, I start focusing on the things that I get to experience for a first time. I'm 35 years old and I'm experiencing new things every single day, every single weekend because I'm not drinking. How many things, everything that we did was wrapped around alcohol, and now I have to experience it sober, or I get to experience new things because I'm not drinking alcohol. I've already started to think about the summer and when the kids are off school, how we can go on travel Arizona and go on these hikes and do these things for day trips because we can come home because I will be sober. And in the past, it was always like, okay, this had to be a weekend thing because one of us, we would be drinking and we can't drive home. Not anymore. That's not the case. So for me, is focusing on new experiences is really, really important. And focusing on the things that I'm gaining rather than the things that I feel like I'm losing. Because in reality, I have lost nothing from quitting drinking. I have lost nothing, right? Except for maybe some anxiety, some depression, some days my hangovers. Yes, those are gone. However, I have gained so much, and that's what I focus on moving forward. Number 5, the 5th lesson that I have learned, and this is a tough one, I'm going to be honest with you, is that it's okay to be bored. I realized how much time that whenever I was bored I was drinking, right? Because that would fill the boredom up. But it's okay to be bored. It's okay. And I will add in another lesson here, but it is okay to be bored because out of boredom comes creativity. Out of boredom comes so many things. And in reality, there's not we have social media, we have all of these things where we can numb out on, but I was still finding myself a little bit anxious of, well, I have nothing to do. And with that being said, another thing that I realized was that I was using my hangover days as an excuse to slow down. Now I've learned that I don't need to have a day hungover in order to slow down. I can still spend my Sunday in bed watching Netflix if that's what I choose to do. Most of the time I don't, but now I can still take a break and I could take time out. I don't have to be productive 24/7 just because I have more energy or just because I have more clarity or just because I'm not hungover. And that was a hard thing for me to do because I felt like one of the things that one of the reasons why I wanted to give up alcohol was because I wanted to be more productive. And so my mind decided that if I was sober, I would have to be productive 24/7. And that's not the case at all. You can have days where you're lazy. You can have days when you're productive. And it always feels good waking up in the morning without a hangover either way. So those are the 6 lessons that I have learned over the past 60 days. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this podcast episode. If you have any questions for me and you want me to answer them, I am an open book. Send me an email, send me a message, find me on TikTok, find me on Facebook. All of that will be linked in the description box below. And I will talk to you on the next episode. Thank you for listening.